Okay, so you want to devote yourself to Dragonball Fighterz, huh? I know you do, alright? But there's this unsure feeling that you have inside because you're not much of a 2D fighter kind of guy, are you? Well, in fact, you probably play a lot of Xenoverse, and you're not sure how to transition into a traditional fighter from a game like Xenoverse 2. Well, you've come to the right channel because welcome to the very first episode of my Dragonball Fighterz tutorial series, starting off with a smooth transition. Right, this video is aimed towards individuals who are completely new to traditional fighting games, alright? Which means regardless of 3D models or 2D models, the fighters are engaged in a 2D lane, so this is nothing like 3D arena brawlers or things like that. But anyways, here's 10 things that you guys need to learn to help you guys transition smoothly into Dragonball Fighterz. Number 1 is mentally knowing the game. You need to completely forget what you know about arena brawlers, alright? And you need to focus on the type of game that you're playing, because the community for this game is completely different. When going into Dragonball Fighterz, you need to be ready to go into this game with a fresh slate and accept that you are gonna suck at first and be complete trash unless you've had previous 2D fighting game experience. Which then if you have 2D fighting game experience, this video is not meant for you. You're already set. But if you don't have any 2D fighting game experience, get ready to do a lot of training and a lot of studying with your character before you go all out into a ranked match and try to get those wins. First thing that you have to do is let any muscle memory that you're afraid of pulling over to this game die. Let that muscle memory die. So like if you have problems like, oh, I'm used to powering up with this button, blah blah blah, let it die, alright? This means you have to get used to the new controls for the fighting game that you're playing. I'm not saying that you can't customize it to make it feel more comfortable, but default controls is the simplest and easiest way to play, especially in a tournament setting. It makes it easier for everyone around you when you don't have to set your controls before every single match you play. Just keep in mind that Xenoverse 2 is nothing like Dragonball Fighterz, period. So if you guys hate and absolutely despise 2D fighters, stick to Xenoverse 2 because this game is not for you. Number 2 is characters. One thing you need to know about traditional fighters is that the roster isn't based on their power in terms of the lore. Alright, so don't expect to win a match as Broly if you're going against a Yamcha. For all we know, Yamcha could be the best character in this entire game. I say this because people will choose a character and become what we call a character loyalist, such as playing Goku Black because they love that character. And for all we know, Goku Black could be a bottom tier character and completely suck ass, which brings me to my next point. Tiers. What the hell are tiers? Tiers are basically rankings or a list of characters from the highest to lowest. Usually characters with low risk, high reward options that have a substantial amount of tools that they can utilize in the middle of a match are considered high tier characters. That also comes along with their ease of use, right? But then there are characters who have high risk, low reward situations where you need to bust out like a 70 hit combo to do the same amount of damage that a high tier character would do at a 20 hit combo. You understand how that works? Low tier characters are usually flawed in some way, but that doesn't mean that they can't be viable in a professional setting. So always remember that being a character loyalist isn't completely impossible, but it's going to make it extremely difficult for you to get wins and rank up, especially if you've never played a competitive fighting game before in your life. Alright, so play with your smarts, not your emotions. Alright, you may love a character, but frame-wise or mechanically-wise, they could be flawed, and it might not even be your fault. It could be just the developer's fault, and they need to patch the character. So always play tiers, because that way, if you want to get the wins, you should play tiers. If you want to get the wins, play tiers. Don't play the characters that are complete garbage. Next is number 3, right? Frame data. Okay, this is one of the most time-consuming things, and it's really only recommended once you learn the other steps. Now, frame data is extremely important, and it's about knowing what's safe and what's unsafe. Now, say for example, a character is doing a Kamehameha wave, right? We have Goku who's firing his Kamehameha, and this Kamehameha is flying across the screen. Why is it that Goku can't jump, block, or move left and right while he's in the animation of his Kamehameha? Is it because he's mid-animation? Yes, and those animations have frames. They have startup frames, right, where the character's still available to get hit, right? His hitbox is still active. You have the active frames, which is the attacking, and then you have recovery frames where the attack is over and your character is recovering to a state which is going to end the animation, allowing you to block and move around again. You need to know what attacks are safe and what attacks are unsafe. So if you fire a Kamehameha wave and I block it, right, now you have to wait for your recovery frames to finish before you can move again or even block. But if you're negative on block, meaning you have like 15 frames of recovery, and I have additional like 5 frames to attack you, okay, you can get wrecked. I can punish you. So you need to understand how frame data works. That is very complicated, and you can actually learn from other games. So it's recommended you learn frame data as the last thing, very last thing, but it's also very important. Number 4 is terminology. Alright, if you want any career as a professional FGC player, or you just want to stop being an amateur and kick it up to the advanced leagues, you need to learn fighting game terminology. Every community has their own terminology, but for the most part, it's actually kind of universal. Learn what it means when someone says tech, push block, anti-air, Kara throw, plinking, buffering, recovery, mix-ups, cross-up. If any of these terms confused you, you need to learn what they are. Learning fighting game terminology is going to help you become a better fighter when someone tries to coach you and tells you, hey man, you're not teching enough. That's great advice, but if your response is what the hell is a tech, that advice goes to waste because you haven't improved as a fighter. You don't know what the hell he's talking about. You know, he's trying to help you, but you don't know what he's pointing out your flaw is. Number 5 is practice. Before you jump into ranked, it's recommended that you at least spend a week in the lab. This is what people refer to as training mode or the training room of the game. Alright, they call it the lab because this is, think of this as like your private laboratory, right? This is where you come up with your new tech for your character. And by tech, I mean like your own combos, your own techniques, your mix-ups, your cross-ups, all this crazy stuff that your character can utilize in a battle. The lab is where you're going to develop this, and this is also where you're going to be developing something called your bread and butter combo, which is your optimal go-to combo that you never drop. Okay, your bread and butter is one of the most key important things in any fighting games, alright? It's going to be giving you a solid chunk of damage, and it's going to be an easy go-to punish. It's as simple as landing 2 to 3 bread and butters in a match to end a game, or in this case a character because it's a 3-on-3 fighter. Number 6 is teamwork. Now this is a first for this game because it's allowing 6 players to fight at the same time, so if you're going to be jumping into team fights, and they have ranked team battles, for example, the first thing you need to know is something that I learned from playing other team-based games, and that is the team to tilt first is the team that loses first. So don't blame each other or attack each other's faults, instead coach each other. Always coach your friends, even if they suck. You know, always coach them and help them improve as a fighting game player, and this in turn will develop a better relationship to your team as well as actually help them improve as a fighter, and it'll make your team more solid. Number 7 is execution. Now, in a traditional fighter, a move list can be a scary thing, especially if you've never included motions in combinations with normal button presses, so don't expect your casual Dynasty Warrior type combo system where you combine alternate variations of light and heavy buttons. No sir, this game is execution based, and execution is key, meaning that a simple quarter circle motion can be the difference between life and death. So get into the lab and learn how to play a traditional fighter before bragging that, yo, I'm gonna kick your ass when you're not even able to do a fireball motion. Number 8 is matchup study. This is something you're going to be learning as the game ages. You're going to learn what characters are counters to others. For example, Goku might be a bad matchup for Gohan. For what reason, you ask? I don't know, that's just an example. But say for example, right? For example, Krillin isn't good against dealing with enemies who are heavily projectile based, and Frieza is a heavily projectile based character. That would make Frieza a nightmare matchup for Krillin. He'll lose most likely 8 out of 10 matches, let's say, right? So learn your matchups and learn who counters who. So know that if you're playing Krillin and your enemy's Frieza, you are now at a disadvantage. Number 9 is life cycle. Well, what do you mean by life cycle? Well, this one is either a hit or miss, right? If you join a game late in its life cycle, it's common sense, all right? You're gonna have a hard time, especially learning to play in a ranked setting. You're gonna have a harder time, for example, fighting against an intermediate ranked player a year from now than you would when this game first releases. It usually takes about a month or 2 for a life cycle to really take effect on like the meta of a game, of a traditional fighter anyway. So you joining 5 months after release is going to make it very hard for you to learn if you're heavily relying on that online experience. So jump on the game as early as you can. It's recommended that you do day 1 so you can be at the same skill level that everybody else is on day 1. And finally, number 10 is dedication. Now, as I said before about how practice is important, you have to realize that dedication is what leads to true growth in any 2D fighter. You need to dedicate hours to training mode. You need to dedicate hours to playing these matches and learning your characters truly from the inside out. If you quit a game or you focus on another game and you're not gonna put all that time to improve yourself on Dragon Ball Fighterz, you're not gonna go anywhere. Even if you start out and you lose and you suck, do not quit. You have to remember that failure is the biggest teacher. If you can, record your matches or have someone coach you for your matches and have them tell you what you're doing wrong. Another thing that you can do is go to your locals, all right? There's something called a local FGC, all right? A lot of states have what we call locals, which allow you to grow further than any online experience, than anything, all right? Your local FGC is fantastic because the people who go there are usually very high in skill level and there's no lag. Everything played there is live, like locally, all right? So you learn to play in a professional tournament setting. So support your local FGC and focus on your growth as much as you can. Don't be discouraged and just keep practicing. Continue to play this game. Don't quit, don't rage quit. It's not gonna help you grow as a player. But anyways, guys, hopefully these tips are going to be helping you transition from the world of Xenoverse 2 into a traditional 2D fighting game. If you follow these 10 tips, they are definitely going to help you improve and get you to an advanced level. I'm going to be releasing character tutorials, so I'm going to be starting out probably with Goku and move my way along the roster. Maybe I'll do all the good guys and the bad guys. But also I wanted to announce, guys, if you want to see more Dragon Ball Fighterz content, please give this video a like and of course subscribe to the channel. But anyways, I'm Devil Artemis and I'll see you all in the next tutorial video. Peace.